female 35, brother Seb, 37. We're step-siblings. This is relevant later. Has 2 children with his ex-wife, Maddie. They have Teddy, 11 male, and Rosie, 9 female. I have a daughter, Leah, 10. All the kids go to the same private school. For the past 2 years, Seb has been dating Casey. Casey has a daughter, Hannah, 10. They've been slowly blending families for a while, spending weekends, holidays with the kids at each other's homes, etc. And to their credit, they've done their best to make it smooth. They got engaged a couple of months ago after finding out that Casey is pregnant, and Casey and Hannah will be moving in with Seb and Teddy during the summer. This means that Hannah will have to change schools. For context, Seb makes good money, but not enough to afford to put the kids through school comfortably. To avoid him taking money out of the funds for the kids set up by his dad, I offered to pay for Teddy and Rosie's fees. Seb wanted to pay me back in installments, but I said no. Casey invited me to coffee, which I thought was odd, but I went. Once there, Casey said she wouldn't be able to pay for Hannah to attend the same school as all the kids next year, and she was hoping I'd be able to help out like I do for Teddy and Rosie. She said taking the kids to school and activities would be a nightmare if they weren't all in the same place. Not true. And she worried it would create a divide between the kids. I admit, I was in shock and my brain was working, but not faster than my mouth. And the only thing that came out was, "I barely know you." I immediately apologized, but Casey was already offended. She went on to say I can't expect her to set up her child to be isolated, and I said the only one expecting anything here was her, and incorrectly at that, because I was not going to fork out hundreds of thousands of pounds. She said I should be willing to help since I helped Seb's kids. I said that was different, and Casey said why, I wasn't related to them either. I thought this was incredibly disrespectful to the relationship that I have with Seb for most of our lives, and that I've always had with Teddy and Rosie, who have pretty much been like extra kids to me. I told her I didn't owe her or her kid anything, and that her shameless entitlement was embarrassing to me if not her, so I was leaving. I called Seb on the way home and told him everything. Seb said he had no idea Casey was planning this, and after he spoke to her, he apologized on her behalf. However, he also said that Casey is now rethinking the move. Apparently, she says she doesn't see why she should move Hannah from a school she's happy in to be treated as second-rate. Everyone I've spoken to says I shouldn't feel guilty, but I'm worried that Casey not moving will mean Seb isn't able to be a present father to his new child, and that will feel like my fault. Not the a-hole. Casey and your brother are taking the wrong approach. You paying for school for Teddy and Rosie means Seb and Casey should be able to afford to put the other kids through school. You are indirectly helping Hannah. If she doesn't attend, it isn't on you at all. I see Casey wanting another handout and trying to guilt-trip you into it. She doesn't want her daughter to go to the same school as your niece and nephew. What she wants is a free ride for her daughter, just like the one you give to your niece and nephew. Your brother should be able to afford to pay for this girl's tuition, since he doesn't have to pay for his own children, and she can work to pay for it as well. This request is seriously disgusting and shows you her true character. I wouldn't want my brother to marry someone with that kind of character. Now she's threatening to break up this family to manipulate you into paying for her daughter. This is purely a tactical move. Do you really think she's going to pass up on your brother's financial support by combining households and his help with the baby out of spite? Stay strong, because if you open your wallet to this woman, it will never end. Not the a-hole. It is absolutely true the kid will be isolated and it's not fair. But at the same time, this is not your problem. Your brother has been lifted from 2 tuitions he was willing to pay you back, so I don't see why he can't be the one paying the tuition of his fiance's daughter. I, 54 female, have 4 kids. Milo, 27 male, Dylan, 25 male, Sean, 22 male, and Tania, 18 female. Milo and Dylan are married. Milo's wife, Olivia, 26 female, married my son 3 years ago, while Dylan's wife, Allison, 27 female, married my son last year. I will be completely honest. I don't like Olivia, and she doesn't like me either. I don't like how she behaves, how she dresses, and how she looks, and she has called me snoopy and controlling because I care for my son and visit him regularly. They're child-free, and while I understand that it was my son's choice too, I know that it was because Olivia refused to lose her body over a man or a baby, which for me was completely egotistical and selfish. If my son is not in the house, she doesn't open the door. Mind you, my son bought that house alone. She says that since we don't have a relationship, I don't need to be there if my son's not there. And what's worse, he agrees. She's only close with my husband, which is totally inappropriate, and I don't like it. Allison is totally different. We're close. We share a lot of interests, and she does try to have a relationship with me. She's super sweet and caring. She's appropriate, and we can spend hours and hours together watching series, knitting, or cooking and having fun. Now, my husband's family has a beautiful ring that has been passed down for at least 200 years. It's supposed to go to the wife of the first son during their 5th anniversary. That's why it's mine. It's emotionally and monetarily invaluable. I know it's supposed to go to Olivia, but she doesn't deserve it. She doesn't even know about it, and I think it's my right to give it to Allison, since she's also the wife of one of my sons and will have children to pass it down. I made the mistake of commenting about it with my husband, and he went incredibly mad. He said that the ring belongs to his family, and it should be Olivia's, whether I like it or not. I tried to talk sense into him, but he reminded me that while Olivia might not know about the ring, Milo does, and he'll be expecting the ring in 2 years. I said we could offer to buy another ring for him, but he said no and called me an a-hole. He said that if I don't give it to her, he will, since he has all the papers and legally, the ring is his. Am I the a-hole? I think it's totally reasonable that the ring goes to Allison, because she's still the wife of one of my sons. You're the a-hole. I started reading this and got really angry. You remind me of my mother-in-law. God, I hate people like you and her. You are so awful and judgmental of your daughter-in-law. You need to get over yourself. You visit them regularly to do what? Check on how clean the house is? That if Milo is fed? Do everyone a favor, stop picking favorites. It won't end well, and find yourself a hobby. You're the a-hole. I agree with your husband. The ring is a family heirloom from his side of the family, so if he wants Olivia to get the ring, then she should get the ring. Not fair for you to switch things up because you don't get along with her. Seems like you're the only one who has an issue with her. You're the a-hole. Olivia has just as much right to the ring as you, literally being in the same position as you on the family tree, 1 generation removed. I wonder why Olivia never made an effort to bond with someone as warm and judgmental-free as you. I, 60 female, have 2 kids. My daughter Ellen, 35 female, married to Bill, 39 male, and Adam, 33 male, married to Allison, 33 female. I also have 5 grandkids. Ellen and Bill have 8 female and 5 male. Adam and Allison have 7 male, 5 female, and 2 male. I fully admit that I am much closer to my daughter and her children than my son and his kids. My daughter-in-law has always opted to spend their time with her family, regardless of how many invitations I have extended. We live about a half hour from them, and her parents live in the same town as them. I have always accepted their choice and do not interfere with either of my kids' marriages or parenting. As a consequence, my son's children are not as comfortable with my husband and me, since we see them maybe 5 to 6 times a year and talk to them on FaceTime maybe once a month. I've made my peace with this and hope in the future my grandchildren could make their own choices. I do talk to my son more often, usually on his way home from work. I asked him if I've ever done anything wrong, and he said she's just more comfortable being around her own family, and I dropped the subject. The issue started a few weeks ago when, out of the blue, my daughter-in-law called. She never initiates contact. I should add that at the time, I was watching my daughter's kids as a gift to her and her husband's 10-year anniversary. When they were discussing an anniversary trip, I offered to watch the kids for the week. My daughter-in-law questioned why I had not offered to watch their children so they could go away for their 10-year anniversary, which was about 6 weeks before my daughter's. I was honest and told her I had not thought about it. I sent them a $50 gift card for their favorite restaurant, since I've never been alone with her kids and didn't think she would ever feel comfortable with it. She said I was wrong for not asking, which is probably true. But I think the nature of our relationship dictated my gift choice, and that relationship is completely controlled by her. I am aware that my son is to blame as well. I apologized for not offering, but declined to remedy the situation by actually offering. My son called me later that day and told me Allison is mad no one will watch their kids so they can go away. Her parents will not do more than a weekend, and asked me why I felt the way I did. I hesitated to share at first, but he pushed, and I let him know that my grandkids barely know me, and that is on them. I really did not think this was the way to build a relationship, and if they were interested in actually helping forge a real bond between their kids and us, I would be happy to spend more time with them. No plans have been made to help build that bond. My son feels like he is stuck in the middle, but understands where I'm coming from, and acknowledges that he should have been more insistent on spending time with our family as well. Now she is refusing to allow more contact unless we agree to babysit. I said no to this offer, which could make me the a-hole here, but I don't want to feel used. Not the a-hole. Daughter-in-law absolutely just wants to use you for free childcare. As you and your son has said, she prefers to spend time with her family. This wasn't even brought about until her own parents refused to do it, and she was only going to try and use you as a last resort. I'm really sorry to hear the situation you are in. Hopefully soon you get to know your grandchildren better, and your son pushes for more time with his side of the family. But until then, just be careful with her. I'd be tentative of her trying to get close to you now. Just make sure her intentions are pure, and not just wanting it to benefit her in the long run. She seems pretty selfish. Not the a-hole. Your daughter-in-law is only interested in how much she can use you, not building a relationship with you. Until she shows a true change of heart, don't give in to her. Absolutely not the a-hole. She's dangling a relationship with your grandkids that she's never allowed before because she suddenly needs a sitter. It will always come with strings attached. She'll track everything you do for your daughter's family, and she'll keep the kids from you anytime she thinks you're not doing enough. All that said, if you want to forge a closer bond with the grandkids, it might be worthwhile to agree to babysit for a night at a time. I, 28 female, always had a great relationship with my brother, 38 male, and the rest of my family. When my son, now 5, was born, they supported me through a lot, especially since my baby's father abandoned us. The problem started when he met his girlfriend, 30s, in university. At the start, I was truly happy for him, especially since he talked to me about wanting to ask her out ever since he heard of her from her classmates. What I didn't like is that she didn't care much to keep contact with us. Even after being together for well over a year, she was always too busy to meet our family. He told me she was an amazing cook, was kind, brilliant, etc., and he wanted to marry her and travel with her back to her country once she finished her PhD. He'd always talk to us about how lucky he was to be dating her, she's a judge, and how her government was financing her. I'll admit, knowing a childless woman wasn't working and was paid more money than me, on top of having her rent and other things covered, stung a little, but it had nothing to do with my dislike of her. I wanted her to be more involved in our family, but there was always an excuse as to why she couldn't meet us for dinners, etc. She'd be studying, helping someone from abroad, which I don't really believe. What could she be doing for anyone being miles away? And on the rare occasion she was free, she was either traveling to see her family, hosting friends, or wanted to be alone. I didn't buy that she didn't have any time for us because she doesn't work and was always at home. But she stopped accepting my visits and refused anything to do with my son as well, which slowly distanced my brother. She wouldn't even babysit when my parents were out of town and I needed her to watch him so I could work. Personally, I don't think she's as kind as my brother thought. My parents were on my side. Brother wanted to be neutral, but asked us to not stress her out even more. A few days ago, me and my parents went to her house to talk things out with them both. We were upset, but tried our best to explain why her distance and refusal to help was unacceptable since she doesn't work and has free time. I told her I wished she'd be more caring, and she got increasingly angrier but said nothing. She then turned to my brother and asked him if he agreed, but he said he didn't want to take sides. She said that this was another example of why she felt so resistant to the idea of getting into a relationship, that she couldn't take it anymore and felt better being alone, and then broke up with him. I was shocked. None of us expected this, and my brother immediately tried to backtrack, but she told all of us to leave her house immediately and to not go back. Now I'm feeling guilty, and my brother won't speak to us because I ruined his relationship, and she's irreplaceable. She isn't bothering to listen to anyone in our family, and I'm afraid there's no way to fix this. Am I the a-hole or did she overreact? Edit. When I said I wanted her to be more involved and caring, I meant I wanted her to care enough to attend at least a few of the parties, dinners, other things we invited her to, because we wanted to get to know her and develop a relationship with her, especially since she had told my brother she had no plans of returning to or visiting the US once she got the degree, since she felt uncomfortable here. She was a possible future sister-in-law, and we'd lose her and our brother if they moved together, and she had no relationship with us to ever want to visit. I didn't want nor expect babysitting unless I had no one else to ask in an emergency like the one I mentioned. Then I asked her because I thought that since she was on a paid leave from work, she could be flexible. But from what I read from all the responses, some who didn't need to be so mean, by the way, it seems I was wrong to assume that. Also, by not wanting anything to do with my son, I also meant that she gray-rocked me when I tried to speak about him or show photos. You're the a-hole, not her responsibility to watch your child or children, or be there for your whims and amusement. And be honest with yourself. The fact that she is childless and does have free time bothers you. You're not entitled to her time. Keep repeating that to yourself until it gets through to you. You're the a-hole. You confronted your adult brother's adult girlfriend about how you think she should spend her free time, and because she doesn't want to babysit your kid or spend time with you. Why would you even think she's obligated to do any of these things? Your family sounds pushy and needy, and I'm not surprised she ended things. You're the a-hole, a very jealous, simple-minded a-hole. She doesn't have to want anything to do with you. She doesn't have to help you in any way whatsoever. She is working on her PhD. Dating your brother doesn't mean she is your nanny, your friend, or someone who wants to try and like you. Honestly, your family sounds insufferable. Go visit the Just No Mother-in-Law sub. That's you and your family, an exhausting mess of entitlement. I, 35 female, have been married to Jim, 38 male, for 6 years. Jim and his family have hoarding issues, though no one's formally diagnosed. Jim and I made it work by dividing up our house. He has the entire spare room. I keep the kitchen, bedroom, living room free from storage totes, extra stuff. We each have half the basement. My half holds a pull-out couch, TV, and my yoga stuff, and his is full of stored items. Our system keeps us from arguing about particular items and keeps me from feeling overwhelmed, since I do most of the housework. 2 weeks ago, Jim's brother Paul unexpectedly died. Me, Jim, and their sister Sarah, 29 female, went with the landlord to Paul's 2-bedroom apartment, which was packed. The landlord was understandably angry, but said that Paul paid May's rent already, so we had a month. He's already booked a company to throw away what's left on June 1st, and we all agreed he should keep Paul's security deposit for the cleaning and trouble. We removed obvious trash, but Sarah stopped the cleanup and started loading random things into her car while talking about storing things in our basement and Paul's car in our driveway. Jim told her that wasn't happening. She argued that we had tons of room. We couldn't possibly sort through everything in a month. She and her parents didn't have room for Paul's stuff, and they had to drive an hour each way to get to his apartment. They'd have to drive about the same amount to get to a local storage locker, which she said they also couldn't afford, and the facility is shut at night when Sarah had the most free time to come and sort things. I thought that was the end, but a few days later, Jim and I had Sarah and their parents over at our house. They walked through the whole house and came to the same conclusion that Sarah did, which is that we had plenty of room. I told them that I was sorry for their loss, but that I wasn't going to hold on to Paul's things for some undetermined period of time, or let them in and out whenever they wanted to sort stuff. I didn't say this to any of them, but everything they want to store is junk. None of us are rich. There's nothing of actual value in there, and we've collected Paul's paperwork and sentimental items like photographs and jewelry. Jim's family is understandably upset, and he did defend me to them. But no one can articulate a need to save anything beyond, "That's good stuff you're letting be thrown away." Still, I recognize how difficult this is for them, and am starting to feel like the a-hole. Not the a-hole. They would bring no telling how much junk into your home, and it would most likely never be touched again. And how clean from mold, mildew, and mice feces, etc. is it going to be anyway? If it wasn't important enough to the deceased brother to deal with, then the other relatives aren't going to either. Not the a-hole. Hoarders are a nightmare to deal with, dead or alive. This rubbish will never leave you if you take it in. Just because your home is not full of junk does not give them a right to fill it. Not the a-hole. They don't get a say in what goes into your home, plain and simple. If they want to hang on to brother-in-law's stuff, not to sound insensitive, but that's their problem to sort out. Their argument that it's good stuff you're letting be thrown away doesn't make sense, because if it's good stuff, it can be donated to a worthy cause instead of sitting unused in storage collecting dust, probably for years on end.